Okay, I'd like to call the regular school committee meeting to order. I'm Mayor Ted Betancourt, and tonight we are having our regular school committee meeting, April 11th, 2023, and we are beginning our meeting tonight at 7:08 p.m. I'd like to start off the meeting with our call to order. We're going to first start with a moment of silence, and then we're very fortunate. We have the McCarthy School in the house today, and they're going to help Dr. Vidala and I with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody could please stand for a moment of silence, and then the McCarthy School will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, you ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. All right, that was terrific. Great job. If there's no objection, I'd like to go out of order. We have the students today, they're going to make a presentation. If there's no objection, we'll go right to them, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Vidala for the introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are very excited today to have some of our students from the McCarthy School. We have our third graders who are going to share with us how to be like George Peabody. So earlier this year, they traveled to the George Peabody Museum and they wrote some excellent essays, and now they have a presentation for us. So I'll let Mr. Tolley introduce them, and then we can turn on their microphone and they can come up and share a little bit with us. And I'll move along your slides right up there for you.
Thank you. We have 9 of our third graders here. They're from our 2 classes, both from Mrs. Holden and from Mrs. LaHaye's class. I'm going to introduce them, and then they have a whole presentation for you that they're just going to run with after introductions. First, we have Leah Danisco. We have Colleen Blum. We have Savannah Gwynn, Kaylee Gibson, Jay Della Porta, Cam Prescott, Rebecca Weiss, Carmel Mugo, and Zane Mugo. All right, do you want to step up?
Okay. Be like George. Hi, my name is Leah Danisco, and I'm here to tell you about Be Like George here in 3rd grade. Part of our social studies is to learn about George Peabody. In addition to learning about him, we have set a goal to be like him, learning to love our community and following in his philanthropic footsteps. To learn more about our community, we have a family scavenger hunt with monthly stops, learning more about Peabody along the way. On their own time, families visit locations in Peabody and take pictures with their George. After the visit, they complete a Google slide to tell what they learned. So far, we have visited the Felton Houses and Fire Museum at Brixby Farm, City Hall, the Peabody Branch Library, and the Foster House and Lexington Monument. We also had a birthday party for George Peabody, celebrating his day with life lessons learned from George.
Hi, my name is Colleen Blum, and I'd like to talk about philanthropy, which means supporting others by donating time or money. To celebrate George's philanthropic ways, we decided to focus on being philanthropic by supporting veterans. One group we have been working with is Operation Troop Support. In October, we collected and bagged Halloween candy and donated close to 400 bags of candy that was shipped to military bases around the world, as well as veteran hospitals. In November, Operation True Support sent out cards we made for veterans to thank them for their service. Next, we made snowman decorations and sold them for $5, raising $780. This was paired with a $1,000 donation we received from Electric Connection for meeting online challenge goals, and $1,780 was donated to Pets for Vets. Pets for Vets saves animals from shelters and pairs them with veterans to provide the emotional and physical support many veterans need. donated the remaining snowmen to our guest reader, Mr. Patton, from City Hall so he could give them to veterans who visit his office and to Operation Troop Support to distribute to active military members. For our most recent project, we made Valentine's Day cards to go with the requested food items from Operation Troop Support. They were once again shipped around the globe to military bases. Using George as a role model we have been able to experience how kids can truly make a difference in the world.
Hi, my name is Savannah Gwynn. In these slides, you can see pictures of me visiting in Peabody with my friends and having a really good time. We learn about historic places in Peabody and visit them with our families and create a slideshow to write about our experiences and share pictures. I enjoyed visiting the Felton Houses and Fire Museum because we also went to the store at Brooksby Farm and saw the animals. We went to the main branch library. We saw a huge portrait of George Peabody and learned a lot about all the library has to offer. My last stop was the Gideon Foster House and Lexington Monument. We have learned a lot about how people from Peabody, before it was called Peabody, played an important role in the Revolutionary War. Traveling around and learning about Peabody has been fun.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Gibson. I chose to read you my George Peabody essay. If I were a great philanthropist like George Peabody, I would give my money to local hospitals. I want to help people if they don't have enough money to pay their hospital bills. The people will be thankful and grateful and happy because they are struggling to get enough money to pay bills. I think George Peabody would be proud of me because I am helping people just like he did. Thank you.
My name is Jay Della Porter, and I would like to share my George Peabody essay with you. If I were a great philanthropist like George Peabody, I would use my money to build a statue of George Peabody in Peabody. George Peabody was an amazing person. He was generous and didn't hog all of his money. I feel sad that there is no George Peabody statue because he deserves one. My money would be used for supplies and workers to build the statue. I think the George Peabody statue should be outside of City Hall so everybody can see it when they drive by. I also think the statue should be really big and painted gold because that represents George's big golden heart. George would love this masterpiece. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Cameron Prescott. Today I'd like to talk to you about George Peabody and what it means to be like our McCarthy third grade saying, be like George. What does it mean to be like George? It means to be a giving person. It means to be unselfish. It means to think about others. It means to work hard for what you want and what you care about. It means to be like George. As you leave here tonight, I hope you remember these inspiring words and that you remember to be like George. Thank you for coming.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Weiss. For George Peabody's birthday, we had cake, decorations, and a slideshow with life lessons to learn from George Peabody. I picked Rick on empathy. George Peabody was a great role model who changed life for many people. I am going to be more like him by working on being empathetic. I will try to be more empathetic by thinking about what somebody else could be feeling and try to help them with it. Another way to be empathetic is standing up for what is right even when it is hard. This will help other people and me. I have done this before when I saw somebody was being mean to someone, so I made sure it stopped. I think if I am more empathetic, I will do it again and again. Also, I will make sure people are as happy as they can be. George Peabody is empathetic, and I can be too.
Hi, my name is Carmel and I wrote a poem about George Peabody. George Peabody was a very wealthy and generous man who should always be remembered as a great and generous person and philanthropist. G is for generous, E is for extremely hardworking, O is for optimistic, R is for really wealthy, G is for grateful for his family, E is for education because education was very important to George and the focus of his philanthropy. Thank you for listening and remember to give all like George. Hi, my name is Zane Mugo. This is a Zin Kane poem to tell about George Peabody. George Peabody, generous, helpful, liked donating money. I'm proud of him, philanthropic. By Zane.
Well,
So hopefully you learned a little bit about George Peabody. This has been a huge focus for our third grade this year, and it's also been the way they sort of lived their third grade by being philanthropists and helping others. And it's just sort of been a great way for them to inspire others. Nice job.
well, thank you so much. First off, that was an excellent job, all of you, in speaking publicly. That was terrific, and the writing was excellent. And then secondly, thank you. Thank you for your big hearts and helping serve the city. Last night, a number of us, we were at the National Honor Society induction over at Peabody High School, and there were juniors and seniors that were inducted into the National Honor Society. And a big part of that was because of their service and volunteering to help people. And we were incredibly proud of them, and we're incredibly proud of the work that you did. That was terrific, and I know it's something you'll continue to do because the world needs people who are going to volunteer and help out and want to help everybody and make everybody happy. So that was terrific. Very proud of the McCarthy School, and great job, all of you. That was terrific. That was terrific.
And our students are just going to pass out to all of you just some flyers for our playground fundraiser. We have a major event on May 12th for Glow Bingo and just information. Can you guys pass those out for me, please? We took a picture together too? Sure.
All right, well, that was a terrific way to start a meeting. And now we have another special group that we want to introduce, and if there's no objection, I'd like to stay with the superintendent's report for introduction of a pretty amazing group of students that continue to do amazing things for our city. So, Dr. Vidal, I'll turn to you for the introduction.
Absolutely. So I'd like to call up our Stage 1 drama group under the direction of Miss Manning. And this is really an incredible group. We've been hearing about them over the course of the year and their amazing production of Yerma. And this year, they were just recognized by the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild at the state finals, and they were the 2023 state champions. So they were recognized at the state finals. This is the 12th consecutive year they've been to state finals, and overall, it's the 5th time that they've won at states. And so under Ms. Manning's direction, this is number 4, which is important. Right? So she's done an amazing job. This was an amazing performance, and we couldn't be more proud of the work that they do. We often, see members of Stage 1 that come out and they entertain, they inspire, they excite us, and I think we saw a number of you last night at our National Honor Society induction, and again, this group continues to make us proud. I know that there's a number of people here that would like to speak, Mr. Swanson as well, but I wanted to just say congratulations. It's incredibly impressive. So again, sometimes you don't put it into perspective. This theater group has been there 12 consecutive years. And this is the first time since 2015 that you were honored as a first place winner. So it's really incredible. It's very difficult to do, and it makes it that much more impressive. So we are super impressed and very proud of the work that you've done. And it's not, without a lot of hard work that you've all done. So you should be proud. Congratulations. Bask in the glory for a little bit because you certainly deserve it. So.
Thank you. Yeah. So,
I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Swanson.
thank you. Obviously, you guys should obviously be very proud. I obviously had a spy in the group with you guys who gave me the lowdown. So I was aware. They practiced the first time at the high school, worked out some kinks. Then they had to go down to Sharon, Mass, do their first performance. From what I'm told, one of the only schools that got a standing ovation during their performance. They then had to go 2 weeks later to Framingham twice, once for a technical setup, once to actually perform. Again, one of the only schools that got a standing ovation. Last week in Boston, it was 14 schools, 3 days of competition. These students had to be at that competition every day. Out of 14 schools, number 1. So they went through, and again, for those who saw the performance, I've seen your performances in the school, on the stage, love them. Stage 1 has always done a great job. I've known students, I've seen you guys grow up, actually, which is crazy. But I've seen students go through that program, and those programs that are on stage at the high school were awesome. This one, as I said in my posts here on the floor, was powerful. It was something very mature, but you guys did a phenomenal job from everything from the lighting to the stage to the performances, and I have to commend you guys, and there was absolutely no reason why you weren't number 1. It was awesome, so congratulations, all of you. And then part of this I'd like to say is, again, I'm going to take a little soapbox here, is Peabody High School, if you're looking around, who else came in number 1 in the state? No other privates. They competed against private schools, so Peabody High is number 1 again.
Well, thank you. I really cannot add much to what you said, John. That was terrific, and Dr. Vidala. Even beyond what you do on the stage, you have all just been incredible representatives of the city of Peabody and Peabody Veterans Memorial High School. You continue to bring great pride to our community, and all of you should know how much that means to me, to all of us, and the people who care about this city. I know it means a lot to Ms. Manning, your faculty, the people who support you, your parents, your families, but it really means a lot to our community. You really are, you shine brightly for the city of Peabody, and I hope you all know that. So, absolutely. Any, Mr. Swanson, yeah.
Sorry, I did forget to mention, for the public, Thursday night, they're having a benefit. They're going to have a benefit on Thursday night, correct? At the high school. 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock at the high school. I would... Yep. They actually had to go and reconstruct some of their props because they had a great time celebrating. So they put that together for the community to enjoy their performance. I beg everybody to go out and enjoy it. It's phenomenal.
Okay, and if there's still no objection, which I don't think there is, let's just continue with the superintendent's report. We do have a representative from Student Advisory Council that we would like to hear from. So, Dr. Vidal, I'll turn it back to you.
Yes, so we do have our student advisory, so please come on up. We had them on the agenda last week. There was a conflict at the last meeting, so we rescheduled for today. Very grateful that you could be here today. We have actually some more information. I noticed that you updated the presentation as well, which I was very impressed with. We're not just using the old presentation. They updated it with some new information in here, so I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'll turn it over. You guys have a great, lot of things happening over here at the high school.
All right, so the Student Advisory Council is Roxani Rojas, Rafael Fernandez, and Catherine Charisma. So tonight we're going to tell you about some highlights and going-ons at PVMHS and items for follow-up. So some highlights and going-ons that we have on right now is spring sports are starting. They have started already. Students have selected classes for next year. 10th graders had the ELA MCAS at the end of March, and we'll have the Math MCAS in May. PVMHS Showcase Night hosted about 80 plus families. So continuing on, Model UN had a huge trip to UNH on 2, does that say 10 or 11 or 1? Actually, I don't know. Oh, okay. Model UN went to New York City on 3-2 and 3-3, and they had a huge success there, some awards. Student Government Day was on 3/16. Junior Prom was on 3/17. Senior Prom will be at the end of May, and Community Service Club is collecting toiletries for Citizens Inn. Stage 1 Drama won the 2023 METG Drama Festival State Final. Their in-school performances earned rave reviews, and a full auditorium of students heard from a Holocaust survivor on March 24th. So some goals that we have is we want to work on supporting 9th graders in their assimilation into PVMHS, thinking ahead to what we can do some things next year. We want to build more cultural and international awareness and opportunities for celebration. We have many examples. For example, this week we had kind of a week for international languages, and the foreign languages department really got like a step up kind of in the mornings, playing international music and having some trivia. So some items for following up on. There's significant potholes in the student parking lot and the bus drop-off, but they have gotten filled, which is really good. So we're getting water filtration systems installed. We have identified locations. Actually, we got 5 stations instead of the 2 or 3 that we were supposed to get, and we're still trying to figure out when the installation date will happen. Yeah. So any questions?
So I just want to say great presentation as always, but those 2 items are very big items, and it's because of the advocacy. So I think this just shows the wonderful opportunities that you have when we give the students a voice and you identify these areas and communicate them to us, and the city's able to step up and really meet those needs. And I think those 2 examples are really important because the potholes were significant, and that was really a safety concern, and they were able to be addressed. And the water filtration stations, when you brought that to us, we had identified 2 or 3, and then as we talked a little bit, you said, you know, it would really be nice to have all 3 floors and one over here in the cafeteria, and you know, making sure that Main Street was covered, and so, you know, we were able to order 5 and be able to do that. And I think, again, it's just a credit to you and your faculty advisors, and just making sure that everybody's able to communicate and have that voice. So we're really proud of you, and I think this is just another example of why we have student advisory and why it's important to continue. So thank you.
Great presentation. Any questions, Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. That was a good presentation. And I don't want you to think I was making light of the fact that those potholes were filled in. Some of them could have celebrated birthdays. So it was heartfelt. You got that done, as the superintendent said. You brought it up, and it's been taken care of, and that's really wonderful advocacy, and same thing with those water filtration stations. Your ideas on the working with the ninth graders, that's excellent. Have you got some specific thoughts of what you're going to do, or?
So we were talking about it in student council with other class officers from other grades, and it's something that we're looking towards since a lot of ninth graders don't know much about the school, and it's trying to just get them settled for that year. And it's not only for the ninth graders, for all grades, and it's just a way that we're trying to figure out how to make everybody comfortable within our school. And I guess it's just to help people academically, socially, just many aspects.
That's a wonderful idea. That really is. And also the. Go ahead.
So peer mediation started up, as we know, and we're trying to get it pushed forwards. We haven't had anybody do a peer mediation yet. I almost did one, but it didn't work out. So that's also a thing that really helps the school as well. It gives students another choice instead of, suffering worse consequences like suspensions or in-school and out-school suspensions. They could choose to get mediation, and that's a way that they could settle differences and not have to suffer those consequences, which is a really good thing that started up this year.
Very good. You're doing a lot of good work.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right,
This was
thank
great.
you.
Very helpful,
Thank
very
you for having
informative.
us.
Thank you. Okay. Actually, Dr. Vidala, why don't we finish your report? Yeah, let's finish your report, then we'll go back to the agenda. A couple more items.
Yes, I just have two quick items. So the next one is school choice. So here we have this slide, and it just gives us the legislation on school choice, that all school districts in Massachusetts are presumed to participate in and admit non-resident students through school choice. So each city or town or regional school district shall enroll non-resident students at the school of the such non-resident student's choice, provided, however, that we have seats available. So we are a school choice district, and each year we take in a certain number of students. A number of faculty bring their students as well, and they can school choice in. We receive tuition from those students that come in, and our students also have the right to go out to other districts. We don't really have control over who leaves the district, but we do have control over who comes in if there's not seats available. So each year we do accept students, and so one of the big questions is, sort of what is the school choice in versus school choice out. So this year, our receiving tuition is anticipated for FY24 as $356,227, and that's of income that comes into the city. And school choice, the sending tuition is $378,032. So that money is going to go out regardless. So by us participating in, we receive the tuition in, and students from other cities have the opportunity to come in to the Peabody Public Schools. My recommendation is that we continue the program. We do not need a vote because the legislation says that they assume that we will participate unless the school committee votes to not participate. So it is something we do bring up each year, and I report to Desi that we had it on the agenda, we spoke about it, and if there are no objections, I would advocate for us to continue again.
Thank you, Dr. Vidal. Any comments or questions on this item?
I agree.
Mrs. Dunn?
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
No, we don't need a vote because they do assume that we would continue it unless the school committee for some reason objected. All right, and then the last item is the Peabody High School Senior Prom. So you received a written communication. It is in the written communications from Ms. Randall. So the Senior Prom will be held on May 31st, 2023. The location is the Sea Glass Restaurant and Lounge, and so that is in Salisbury, Massachusetts. All attendees will travel by bus to and from the event. This is a change this year. We did implement this with the junior prom, and it was very successful. So the senior class and the administration at the high school would like to make the senior prom, a little bit more special for the seniors. So they have reserved 6 coach buses. As this was an unanticipated cost, the senior class is seeking donations to defray the cost and hopefully eliminate the cost entirely to students. So Ms. Randall has a written communication about that. We'll be sharing it with the community, looking for donations. And we do have an opportunity that the school department will support this as well this year. And classes moving forward, it's not something I think that we could annually support, but I do think that we can make sure that we make this happen this year for the students. And any donations that we get will help to defray the cost from the school department. And then moving forward, the classes have already begun raising money so that they'll do this. But this is a wonderful initiative. It's very unifying for the students. They arrive and depart at the same time. It's also a very safe thing that they're traveling. Students are not driving on prom night, and it takes a lot of those issues out. It is a change, so I think there's a little bumpiness that went on with that. But I think once this becomes part of the fabric, the students will come to enjoy it, and the families will come to enjoy it. There were really no issues around the junior prom, and it was very successful. So I do think we can help them go off in style and really enjoy it. The other benefit of that is that they all gather before the prom at the high school, take some pictures, and have a real unifying thing. And as a senior class, especially this group, they didn't get a lot as freshmen and sophomores to be able to do together. So this is just another thing where they're really all together doing things as a class. And we talked about it at Student Government Day with a number of the seniors. And, they were a little apprehensive at first about it, but as we spoke about it, they said, it is kind of cool to be all together. So this is something that we would like to support and endorse, and certainly, if there are any questions or any comments from the committee, we'd be happy to help out.
Thank you, Dr. Vidal. Any comments on this item? Okay, great.
Thank you, and with that concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, so we'll go back to item 2 on the agenda, minutes. We do have a regular school committee meeting minutes from March 28, 2023. Look to have those received and voted upon.
Motion to receive and approve.
Second. Great. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn to receive and approve the regular school committee meeting minutes for March 28th, 2023. That motion was seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. We do have 2 warrants today for approval. Mr. Olympia, I'll turn it over to you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5325 in the amount of $111,700.25 dated April 11th, 2023, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion made by Mr. Olympio for approval of warrant number 5325. A motion was seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5329 in the amount of $563,068.15 dated April 11, 2023, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio for approval of warrant number 5329, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Next item, continued business. A couple of items to discuss. Mrs. Dunn, update on the Welch School MSBA project.
This is going to be a very busy week at the Welch School. Actually, starting tomorrow, it's been ongoing, but tomorrow there's going to be a real push to put things together to get ready to move over the vacation week. And then when everyone returns to school on Monday, the classrooms across the front of the building will be filled with happy students and teachers. The front door will be able to be utilized, the office space will be used, and it's just a very exciting time for everyone involved with that project, from the architects and the construction workers on down to the kindergarten kids. So what's going to happen is, based upon the weather and things, there are still things that have to be taken care of out front, such as the outdoor landscaping. but they've completed the new walkways into the building. Those were replaced. They actually were moved a bit, so those are all being done. There'll be new trees going in. The flagpole is being moved. So there'll be a lot of things on the outside that haven't been done as of tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're done by next Friday, because they're really pushing to get a lot of it completed. And then the project will go into phase 2, which will involve the cafeteria kitchen and the classrooms on the 2 floors at that end of the Welch, at the cafeteria end. And it is really amazing how they, on the interior, reconfigure corridors and access points to be able to separate the work area from the school sections. And it's like magic, but they're working really hard to get it done on time. So we will be able to have everyone come into the building to see it soon. We want to give them time to get settled in. It's still going to be pretty confusing, and it's going to be amazing when you actually see it in person. And I know I can't wait, and I know everybody else can't wait either. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions. We will be having our Welch School Building Committee meeting Thursday, what is it, the 27th or the 25th? No, 27th of April at 9:30 a.m.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Okay. We also have item Master Education Plan. Anything to touch on there, Mrs. Dunn?
It's still in production, but just so you all know, it's just a compilation of our strategic plan, the district goals, the district plan with reference to the 1997 OMR studies of all of the buildings in the system.
Thank you. Okay, next we will go to public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one, do we have anybody that would like to join us remotely?
Seeing none.
All right, we do have a couple of written communications. First item is a communication from our city clerk, Allison Danforth, regarding the Peabody Veterans Memorial High School Statement of Interest. It was great that we received unanimous support from the school, from the city council to submit the statement of interest.
Motion to approve, motion to receive, I'm sorry, motion to receive.
Heard the motion to receive by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Amico. All in favor of receipt? Thank you. The next written communication is a donation of $250 from the Blackbaud Giving Fund, and we would need a vote for that.
Motion to receive with gratitude. And can we send a special note? If you read the really fine print, this again is a donation from Mr. Dan Collins.
Second.
Okay, thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Amico. Again, all in favor? That's a unanimous vote. Thank you. We have the prom bus letter that we discussed earlier that we will receive, and the AFSCME 2022-2025 MOA. You want to take that up now, Dr. Vidala? I believe Mr. Amico is ready to speak on that.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Motion to receive, both of them.
Motion to receive on that, and if you don't mind me, if I could pitch it for Mr. Olympia, I'll be the Ken Phelps in this case. So, yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the MOU that was voted on and passed by the AFSCME unit, dated July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2025. And with that, I'd like to add, thank you, Mr. Olympia, for your leadership with all the negotiations on the Finance Committee. You're amazing. Your ability to communicate and just run numbers is something that we appreciate. Ms. Carpenter, you as well. Thank you. You've been doing it for a long time. And Don Kahn and the mayor and Dr. Vidala.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Miko, 2022. I wrote the wrong number down, I think, for you. So 20. I'll take responsibility for that. But just for the record, 2022 to 2025.
That's what I was
3-year
thinking about.
contract.
Actually, it does say 2022 there, so I apologize. Thank you for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Amico, and thank you for those words. Dead on with that. Thank you for that. Okay, so we have a motion that was made by Mr. Amico, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Any questions on this motion? I think all of us are familiar with this item. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 All right, terrific. Next, we'll go to subcommittee reports. Education Subcommittee, anything to report, Mr. Amico?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay. Finance, Mr. Olympio?
Nothing to report. Thank you, Mr. Amico, for the kind words.
School Safety Subcommittee,
Nothing to report.
Athletics and Wellness?
In addition to that, I just wanted to thank everybody involved. There's some significant improvements to the Donahue B Field baseball diamond up at Peabody Veterans Memorial High School, and it looks incredible. If you haven't been up there, the dugouts are now fenced in, and they've really done well. There's a lot of depth to the dugout, so it's not just like no offense here, a Little League dugout where there's a bench and and there's 5 feet between the back wall and the front fence. There's about, I'd say 8 to 10 feet inside the dugout, room for players to keep their gear, move around and things like that. The outfield fence was replaced as well. There's also fencing down each of the third and first base lines so that all spectators are now protected much better at the field. So good job to everybody involved. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Okay, Quality and Standards, Mrs. Dunn?
We had a very abbreviated meeting tonight. The policies that we're working on are those involving the library, updating them to the American Library Association standards, and also the ongoing, I don't know what to call it, audit provided by the MASC with a list of 5-page list of policies that we need to review. So that's just ongoing. We will probably have a meeting before the next school committee meeting as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Parent and Student Advisory Boards, Mrs. Dunn?
Yes, unfortunately, there is a parent advisory board scheduled for this Thursday, and we're going to have to move it. And it will probably be moved for 2 weeks. So that, I'm going to take care of that with Ms. Maccarelli tomorrow.
Thank you. Building and Grounds. Yeah, I was going to suggest let's coordinate with Dr. Vidal and come up with a date, couple of items we need to bring back around. Good. Special Education Parent Advisory Board, Mr. Olympio?
I'll be scheduling something for May.
Great, thank you. City Council and Legislative Delegation, Mrs. Carpenter?
I didn't have anything to report until I noticed there was a late communication. Did we all receive a late communication about some Article 4 regarding terms of the school committee?
So I believe this is a communication from the city council. I think they're looking at the city charter, and this is just the school committee, and they're asking the school committee to receive this late communication, and if there's any amendments to it or any thing that you'd like to bring up, please communicate that with Ms. Danforth. I believe it's on the agenda for the 27th of the city council. It's just looking at the city's charter. I think they do that every so many years. So these are some things, and I did notice the term in here was something that we might want to look at.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at some of the change. I just noticed it now. Did everyone receive the late communication? Does everyone have it?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I was going to ask for. So, what'd you say the date was? The 20th. So it'll be before they meet on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to, Mrs. Dunn.
No, go ahead first.
I was going to suggest that I think this is something we need to look at here. The city council has been reviewing, quite frankly, the charter for a number of years. And I think they've built up some momentum last year through the leadership of Councilor Melville in working through some of these items. They're taking up some issues again in the coming weeks here. And one of them is Article 4, which certainly pertains to the school committee, and it is potential changes to the term and some other items that certainly deserve a discussion and debate on our end. So I would think that this would be an item that we do want to discuss internally and potentially make a report out. Mrs. Dunn.
I'll be honest, this came up on the city council back in October at a meeting, and I believe it was a public hearing of the Charter Commission. And I had planned to go to that because I've been following this, and I've been concerned about a couple of things, the language in the changes, and just the fact that did anyone ever have anyone speak to them about what it's like to serve on the school committee? Not one person did. And I was told that that's because the consultant was making these advisory decisions to the Charter Commission. So, at first glance, I was concerned that they don't even get the titles right. They want us to have a clerk. We have a secretary, and I know that's a small piece of terminology, but it kind of stuck out to me that honestly, being someone who follows this and is familiar with a lot of very different configurations of school committees on the state level because of my involvement with Mass Association of School Committees, I do have some concerns about the change in the charter as regards to school committee. Now, the one thing in the charter that I'm glad they're taking out was the prohibition on women running for any office other than school committee and only being able to vote in school committee elections. I think absolutely that needs to be changed. Let's get into the 21st century. But some of the other changes that are really truly specific to our board, I have some concerns that I think probably are shared by all 6 of us, and even by you, Mr. Mayor. There are a couple things there for the mayor as chairperson of the school committee that I think that we should be able to at least give them some input in that. So I definitely believe we need to speak on it, and it's going to happen 2 days after our school committee meeting.
I did want to add that I disagree a bit, Ms. Dunn, with you being told that these are recommendations that were made by representative. We did hire a company to come in.
By a consultant, that was a recommendation.
And we formed a charter commission. This was several years ago. And the city council recommended 3 members. My office recommended 4. They met over the course of a year, and they made recommendations to the city council. The city council has made changes to that, significant ones. So I don't think this is the consultant's recommendation, a lot of these. I think these are council decisions, and that's why I think it's important for the school committee to be heard on these. So that's why I do think this is important to bring up before they meet, particularly over term of office and some other things that you've pointed out. Some of these are major changes. Hockman.
It's kind of in and out, I think. I think under our rules or bylaws, if one member objects to receiving a late communication, we don't receive it, and I'm going to make that objection. I don't think we need to be rushed to make this decision. I think that these are important matters. I don't recall being invited to any part of a conversation by this charter committee or any city councilors that are making these decisions. We can receive this if the city clerk wishes to put this on our next agenda to receive it. We can do that, and we can take it up to have a conversation under our terms. I don't think that these important matters are something that should be subject to a 2 or 3 or 4 hour meeting while we have other business to conduct. We're in the process of receiving a budget for our next school year. We have a lot of business to take care of, and these are important items. And Ms. Carpenter, thank you for pointing it out. All of the important items on this charter reform recommendation or letter correspondence. So I'm going to object to receiving this late communication and would respectfully request that the receipt of the communication be placed on our next agenda so that we can take it up in our course, and then we can discuss it as we feel necessary and not be rushed. And I'm not suggesting that the Charter Commission or committee is rushing us. Sometimes schedules are the way they are and things get out when they get out, but I just feel that we as a body need to take this slowly and really absorb what is being recommended. And I will say, I don't know that anyone, I know I certainly haven't been, no one's inquired as to my thoughts or feelings on this. I don't think, as I'm looking around the room, it doesn't look like any one of us. You would think that someone would inquire as to the 6 sitting school committee members and the chair as to our thoughts on revision of how we're governed and how we operate. So in any event, my objection is noted, and I would respectfully request that we not receive this communication tonight.
And I'm pleased that they are taking this up. And yeah, I don't think there was any sort of try to put pressure on us. But these are items that certainly affect the school committee that need to be vetted and discussed and then reported out, or even if there's a future meeting with the city council about these very items. But it is long overdue, and some of our, as mentioned by Mrs. Dunn, some of what's in our charter is antiquated and quite frankly ridiculous. So I'm glad that they're taking that up moving forward. Council President Welton is continuing what Council President Melville was doing and trying to move this along and things. So, Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hockman. I agree, although what exactly are they doing at the meeting on April 27th in regards to this piece of the charter?
I think they've been just taking individual articles, kind of working their way through. There have been votes. I don't know if there would be votes on that night. I certainly think the city council would want to hear from the school committee on this. I think they'd want to get our perspective. But that's what they've been doing. They've been kind of taking, over the course of last year, they discussed Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, and now I think Article 4 is next. And I think that's would be the beginning of the discussion. I don't know exactly their vote schedule or if there's other meetings scheduled thereafter, but I think this is just next in line as to their discussions.
So there is a possibility that Article 4 could be voted on April 27th?
I don't think so, but there is a possibility. I would think there'd be some discussion, and I would think that certainly the school committee's voice would want to be heard on this, and they would want to hear our voice. I think that's why Allison Danforth set this out, just to try to help make sure that we were in the loop and things. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it is possible that there could be a vote that night, but I would think that this would be discussed over multiple meetings.
Yeah, I would hope that there isn't a vote that night until we have a chance. As chair of the liaison to the city council, we definitely were not spoken to. No one had reached out to me to discuss it. I do think it is a very important piece of information that we should all have time to discuss. I welcome if they would like to meet with us before that date and have a subcommittee meeting with us to discuss some of the changes that are being proposed. But I would hope that there's no vote that evening if we hadn't had a chance to collaborate on something that impacts how we are governed. And, I would appreciate the respect from the city council to bring us into that conversation.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Mrs. Dunn.
And just for everyone's information, what I was also told is it is a lengthy process. It's been lengthy coming up to this point. And what happens after it meets with the council approval and they take a vote, then it goes to the legislature, and then it goes on the ballot, a separate ballot for all of the residents of Peabody to vote on the charter changes. And that is down the road, but this is all part of it.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Miko, did you have your hand up earlier? Mr. Hockman.
Yeah. I'm being told that the Charter Review Committee is meeting actually on the 25th, not the 27th, so it would be at the time that we're meeting, so we would have no opportunity to discuss this prior to anything. So I'm going to second the motion that Ms. Carpenter made, even though she didn't know she made it, for her to communicate with the Charter Commission, whoever the chair is of that. Mr. Mayor, you can help with that. And respectfully ask them to refrain from taking any action on Article 4 as it pertains to the school committee till sometime after May 9th, which will be the date, our meeting, where we'll take it up. And I'm sure through due course and courtesies that I would expect that the city council would acquiesce to that. Thank you for that motion, Ms. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you. I think that's a good idea, and I know the council's being very thoughtful on this, being very deliberate, and I didn't get the sense at all that this was them trying to push us into an action here. I think they just want to get the discussion started and certainly get our input, but we certainly should make our feelings and thoughts on this item well known, because it does obviously affect our operations. So we'll do that. Ms. Carpenter and I will reach out to the council. Yep, Mr. Swanson.
Just a quick one, and I wholeheartedly agree with everybody's sentiment here. Is it possible to ask Ms. Macarelli to get the copy of the current Chapter 4? So we can do a shared compare? I know there's some things that are very outdated there, but at least the structure that's there today. Thank you.
Okay. Next, committee report, redistricting, we'll hold on that. And performing arts. We had a little great celebration earlier today, Mr. Swanson. Anything to add?
Great one. No, other than be prepared for this spring. There's a lot of spring concerts getting prepped for, and Stage 1's actually prepping for their spring performance at the high school as well. So we're going to have elementary, middle school, and high school performances coming up, and you'll also see the performing arts through the spring for all the festivities we have around here, and the parade.
All right, thank you. Next regular scheduled meeting is Tuesday, April 25th, 2023, 7 p.m., right here at the Higgins Library. Items for that can be handled in the regular course. Please submit those to Dr. Vidala and I. And thank you for a good meeting. Move to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.